I want to say thanks so much to Devox. I've spoken at a couple of different events around the globe now, and it really is a wonderful community, isn't it? I'm really grateful to have met everybody, and Badr and Stefan are just fantastic hosts. So thanks to Devox, and thanks so much to all of our sponsors today. We have this fear as humans. We have this fear that there is AI out there, and these robot overlords are going to take over the universe, right? They're going to replace us. We think that, they're equivalent to the monsters and all of the scary things that go bump in the night. We worry the robot overlords are coming, right? Especially in tech, because this is our thing. This is what we do. We don't want to be replaced. We don't want robots coming in and taking over the planet. Listen, we've got these big brains. We've got these brains that are very, very useful. They're very helpful for managing stress. They're very helpful for telling us when we have threats that come by. Okay, that's good. They're not so helpful, though, if we're sitting here thinking about fears of the past, fears of the future. That's not right now. When we're ruminating over past things that we've done, we've all done this, right? Who's done this? You go to a networking event, you leave, you're on your way home, and you're thinking, oh God, why did I say that? What was I thinking? Your brain, it spins, you ruminate, I should have done this, I should have done that. We do the same thing. For example, if we have relationships that we really want to work towards building. Oh, why did I do that? We do have an interview. Why did I say that? It takes us out of that present moment. It brings us into the past. We want relationships. We want connections. We want to matter. It taps into this fear, this primal fear that we have of being replaced, of not being good enough, of the robot overlords coming in to take over. But, those big brains of ours, what was I thinking? I can't believe. And then it's the future too. So I used to do that. I used to worry about that. I stopped worrying about the past, and then I started worrying about the future. What's going to happen? How am I going to? And our brains, we want to calculate. We want to have the best outcomes. Okay, but it's not a perfect system, and we can't calculate everything. And if you want to really experience a true human contradiction, try being an international speaker who travels the world to talk about managing your emotions, and yet she deals with anxiety every day. I've dealt with chronic pain and with anxiety most of all of my entire life, and I would have panic attacks in the weirdest places, hanging out with my family in the pool, eating dinner. We have these fears. Our amygdala, our brains, our limbic system will trigger a response, fear. We fear the robot overlords, and it takes us out of that moment. It doesn't have to be this way. I like to encourage everybody today to tap into your innovation, to tap into your humanity, to lean in a little closer to what makes us human, because that is how we become irreplaceable. Or, I work with startups, I work with entrepreneurs. I always tell everybody, they get worried about competition. Oh, what about my competitor this? Or somebody's making a similar app, that. What? I always tell them, just sprinkle a little bit of Christina on it. Like, nobody's going to be able to do Christina like Christina, right? That makes me irreplaceable. And you too. So if you have an innovative idea out there where you are trying to solve a problem, where you think that you might be able to help somebody, today I want to encourage everyone in this room to please explore it, because the world is hungry for solutions, creative, innovative solutions that are going to solve our problems. But we've got those big brains. We've got that amygdala that it's very useful. So, for example, in the time of the saber-toothed tiger. Having that amygdala, oh, danger, run. That's a useful tool. But today, there aren't any saber-toothed tigers around, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to stop fearing things that aren't necessarily going to come to fruition, that's in the future. It takes us out of the moment, and it prevents us from being fully present so we can actually do the cool things that we want to do, right? This creates anxiety for us. It creates separation for us. It removes us. We want connection. Even though all of the technology that we have today can connect us in so many ways, it can tell us where those relationships are and how to find them. It can't tell us what those relationships can become. That is a skill that makes us unique. That is something that is what makes us human. We want those relationships. We want the connection. We want to matter. We're afraid that the robots are going to come in and take over. There's this primal fear that we're going to be replaced. And it extends into our daily lives. It extends into our work. And you know, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Like I said, I work with startups. I sit on advisory boards, and here's what I think. I think that humans should do the innovating, and I believe that robots should do the work. Who's with me? I like that idea. Robots cannot replace humans. Now, humans can replace other humans. That's where you got to make sure that you're sprinkling a little bit of Christina on it, right? But robots cannot replace humans if we lean into what makes us human. I'm not afraid of a hostile robot takeover, ladies and gentlemen. I do not fear the robot overlords, and I don't think you should either. This is not coming anytime soon. The world needs more leaders. I'm with Steve Jobs. The world is desperate for creative solutions to solve our problems. In this time, we are so divided by cultures, by countries, families, friends. So if you have an idea that solves a problem, then I encourage you to explore it more, because the world needs more leaders. We don't need any more followers. We've got plenty of those. We don't need any more followers. We need people to innovate a more effective training program. We need people to create an innovative new app that's going to connect people more in meaningful ways with meaningful experiences that matter. We need somebody to innovate a new way to give people more time. In fact, if somebody could just figure out a way to give me 6 more hours of my workday, like I would be, you'd become a bajillionaire, I think, because I could use a little more time. Who here could use a little more time, right? Innovators are irreplaceable. Innovators are really irreplaceable. You can have a machine screw in a bolt. Let the machines do the work. Let us do the innovating. When we put ourselves into that work, into the machines, we take that task off of us. We're offloading that task so then we can do more innovating. This is where our strength lies. This is what makes us unique. And we've all seen this. We know that innovators and the early adopters are who drive the innovation, right? This is why in my field, in marketing and advertising, we are able to find small niche markets that are targeted to the innovators, the early adopters, these guys, because we know that they're the ones who are crossing the chasm and bringing on everybody else to get them on board. Innovators are so valuable, especially right now when we need these creative solutions. I mean, the reality is that artificial intelligence is that. It's artificial intelligence. It's not artificial emotion. It's not artificial humanity, right? And there are two things that robots can't do. There are two things that are characteristics that cannot be replaced from us, by us. And that is critical thinking and contradiction. Tremendous amounts of contradiction. So let's talk about this. Critical thinking. Every single one of us has a gauge. Every single one of us can use our intuition to pick up body language, to use our sixth sense, right? People talk about our sixth sense. We can use that gauge to measure sarcasm, trepidation. We can tell if somebody's having a bad day. Hey man, sorry you're having a bad day. I'm running over to Starbucks. Can I get you a coffee? Computer can't do that, right? We all have this gauge. The other thing is that every single one of us is a special snowflake. 7.6 billion of us on this rock floating in space, and every single one of us has a unique experience. My good friend Kelly Jones happens to be colorblind. And did you know there were different types of colorblindness? I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know it. Apparently he's a tritanope. And that means whenever I stand on the keynote stage and my gorgeous red dress, because I choose red because it looks so great with my complexion, right? My friend Kelly Jones sees me wearing, are you ready for this? Mustard. It's like the worst color for a Chinese woman to wear. I can't, you know what I said? I found this out 2 weeks ago. I said, I'm sorry, Kelly Jones, you're not allowed to come see me speak. But I can never know what it's like to have his experience, to look at the world through his eyes. And it's the same thing. That is just one quality. 7.6 billion special snowflakes on this planet, and I encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to lean into your own uniqueness, to lean into that individuality, to lean in to your humanity. That is what makes us irreplaceable. Let's say you're a publishing house. Let's say you scan the entire body of work for an author. You can copyright it. You can scan it in. You can make it perfectly grammatically correct. But artificial intelligence is never going to be able to capture that artist's writing and passion and rhythm and flow. And maybe that means they're not grammatically correct in order to be effective for their artistry. That's okay. That's what makes that author unique. And it's the same thing with programming, right? Typing is the easiest part of your day. If you're a programmer, you could teach a monkey to code. You could type. But if you inject your passion, your innovation, your uniqueness into it, now we're talking. You're irreplaceable then. Nobody's going to be able to do you. And let's talk about contradictions. Every single one of us is a walking contradiction. Now, this is useful for our advantage. We can use this to do our innovating. We can play devil's advocate if we're thinking about adding a new feature to a product, to an app. You know, let me just think about this. Let me just play devil's advocate before. You've heard people say that, right? Or you can consider your confirmation bias. You can examine it and say, now wait a minute, where are blind spots here? Artificial intelligence can't do that. Confirmation bias. Does everybody know what confirmation bias is here? It means that we gather data. We look around for things, for information that's going to already support existing beliefs. And we have a lot of inherent ones. Check this out. Somebody just did this. They just mapped every single confirmation bias as inherent to humans. That's a lot. We are walking contradictions. We have a tendency to look for information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs, and it affects how we gather information. It affects how we process it, how we take it in. We compare it to our existing experiences, right? And we also ignore information that doesn't support our existing beliefs. Confirmation bias. Through confirmation bias, we reconform stereotypes that we have, and artificial intelligence doesn't do this. So what's the answer? Empathy. Empathy is our greatest superpower. Empathy is something that we all can use to give us an advantage over a hostile robot takeover. We have this quality in us called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons. That means if I see somebody who's similar to me, and they're having an experience, I will mirror their experience, right? This is where compassion comes in. This is where we use empathy to try to understand what the other person is going through. Empathy is our secret weapon. And listen, the bots are great. I use bots. I use them to predict shopping patterns. I use them to launch ad campaigns. The social media bots, they're all really great. They tell us where to find those relationships, but it's up to us to create them. It's up to us to cultivate them, to nurture them, to put our own unique experiences and compassion into those relationships. And I can't measure the difference. I don't know what that is, but I do know that if I walk down the street and I give you a smile, and you smile back at me, that our day just got a little bit brighter, right? Algorithms can't do that. AI can't do that. And I think that if we all tapped into our own humanity and our hearts a little bit more, we'd be able to find those connections. We'd actually become stronger and connected in ways that we never imagined, That's what makes us human. It's unlikely that AI is going to replace us occupations where emotion is important, right? So artists, teachers, engineers, programmers. It'll replace those jobs where emotion's not important. Screwing in the bolts. When you put yourself into your work, when you put yourself more fully into your relationships, you become irreplaceable. And that's an asset. You can't duplicate you. You can't duplicate me. Nobody's going to be able to sprinkle a little bit of Christina Aldan on it like me. And since now we know what makes a human, what makes a robot? Well, Isaac Asimov tells us there are 3 laws of robotics. We don't want to harm robots, humans. Robot must obey. Right? He also talks about how a robot must protect. And of course, after he made those 3 laws, he came back and made a 0th law. And in an interview later, with a heavy heart, he said, but I kind of get it. I actually do know that humans may always not act in the best interest. May not always be rational. We're walking contradictions. So, what do? We need a hybrid approach. We need people to analyze the data. We have people who can put their intentionality into it and their experiences, but they can't make much sense of computational data. And computers, they can't make basic critical thinking tasks, right? There's this fear that we'll get rid of people to automate the world and that it doesn't always work out. But you know what? Actually, I get it. Here's a bot I put on my Twitter account. 37,000 tweets in a week later. Oops. I know what happens when AI goes unchecked. I get it. Tay was an example of a Twitter bot that they had set up to track patterns of how millennials talk. And it only took 24 hours for all of the trolls to feed it a whole bunch of bad data, and they had to turn Tay off. They had to disable Tay. But you know, where it does work, for example, is if I want to watch Game of Thrones, my Netflix account remembers. And if I'm logged in under my account and I watch some cartoons or Disney movies, then suddenly it's going to start feeding me those Disney movies. It also works for Google Translate. When I used to travel, I used to carry those little dictionaries and try to interpret and try to. Now I can have entire conversations using Google Translate. I just open up my phone. It's awesome. We have AI for Earth. We have retailers investing in AI to look at shopping patterns of people. Everybody wants to outbid Amazon, right? We have innovative employment. We used to have steam engines. Now we automate cars. Cars are automated fully and completely. The manufacture of cars. It's fascinating. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, we all used to be farmers. We have innovative transportation. All of these industries where AI can be very, very valuable and helpful for us. Innovative manufacturing under intense heat and pressure and dangerous conditions. We're using artificial intelligence in oil drilling. Innovative education for our nonprofit. We use robots to help work with autistic children and people who have learning disabilities. When we create automation, we start by doing the easiest thing to replicate, screwing in the bolt, right? And then we progress from there. We don't start with the big complicated things. We start with the mundane, and we eliminate the human who needs to do the work. And this, if we could just lean into more of the innovation and the creative creation of interesting products and new technology, let the computers do the work. We need a hybrid approach. Together, I think that we can attain things better, we can create things better, we can innovate things better alongside. At the end of the day, empathy is your greatest superpower, and with great power comes great responsibility. So I want you to all use your empathy excitedly, use it wisely, and without any inhibitions. Thank you.